Hi, my name's Rebecca Lambert-Smith and I'm the practice leader of the Not-for-Profits and Charities team here at Moores, and this is my colleague Yoni Ungar, who's an associate in our team. We have had a lot of questions lately from not-for-profits and charities about the new ATO self-assessment requirements for income tax exempt not-for-profits. The changes will affect organisations differently in different ways, and it's really helpful to think about them in 4 different categories. So the first of those categories is the simplest, and that is a not-for-profit that is a charity registered with the ACNC.
And the good news for those charities is that they don't have to do anything. Nothing is changing for those charities, their tax concessions aren't being affected, and they can remain regulated as they currently are.
The second category of organisation is a not-for-profit organisation that could be registered with the ACNC as a charity but has not actually taken the step of registering as a charity yet. For your organisations, now is the time to become registered with the ACNC. The way Australian tax law works is if you can be a charity, you must be a charity in order to be income tax exempt. So for those organisations, it will be really important that you actually take the step of applying to the ACNC to register as a charity. But how do organisations know if their not-for-profit is in fact eligible to register as a charity with the ACNC?
Well, there are 2 key tests that an organisation should be looking at. The first test is to consider your purpose. Does my organisation have a purpose that is charitable? Your organisation should look at its activities and its objectives and to see whether it fits within any of these categories. For some organisations, it might really be easy to determine that you are charitable and you have a charitable purpose, but other organisations might be on the periphery, and we'd be very happy to advise you further about whether you meet the requirements of being a charity.
You'll find your purpose is often set out in your organisation's constitution or rules, but it may be that it could be better expressed in order to improve your prospects of registration with the ACNC as a charity. The second key test is of course the requirement to have a purpose that is not only charitable but is for the public benefit. And sometimes again this will be really obvious, and for some organisations it's not so clear, or you need to do some advocacy with the ACNC to satisfy them that your purpose is actually for the public benefit. So those are the first 2 categories of organisation. A charity that is already registered with the ACNC, all good, nothing to do here. Secondly, a not-for-profit that could be registered as a charity with the ACNC, in which case go and get that ACNC registration. We can help you if you need. So the third category that's relevant for our purposes today is those not-for-profits that are eligible for income tax exemption, but not as registered charities. For these organisations, you've been flying under the radar and you haven't had to submit reporting to the ATO. That will change from the 1st of July this year, 2024, when you will have to submit an online form confirming your eligibility for income tax exemption.
Now, the eligibility criteria for these not-for-profits is set out in the Income Tax Assessment Act. There are different categories of not-for-profits that are eligible.
You're going to need to submit the online form using an individual's MyGov ID and through the ATO's online portal.
The forms are open for submission from 1 July each year and are open for 4 months. On the form, you'll have to assess your eligibility against the criteria for income tax exemption. You'll have to assess your activities and your purposes to see if you match up.
If your answers on the form indicate that your organisation should be registered as a charity, the ATO will encourage you to go and do that in order to maintain income tax exemption. If your answers to the form confirm that you are meeting the requirements for a category of income tax exempt not-for-profit, other than the charity category of course, then you'll be fine. Otherwise, you may find that you fall into the 4th category, which is a not-for-profit that is not entitled to income tax exemption. Now, for these organisations, you are going to need to pay income tax on your assessable income. But it's not all bad news.
No, that's true. You only have to pay income tax on your assessable income. Income derived from your members may not be assessable income under the mutuality principle.
Now, the mutuality principle requires a little bit of unpacking, which we won't go into detail on here today, but certainly seek advice on that if it's not something you've had to consider for your organisation before. Of course, the other reason you might not need to pay income tax is because you're below the assessable income threshold of $416. So if you're one of those tiny not-for-profits that does great work on a shoestring budget and only makes a profit of less than $416 a year, then you won't need to pay income tax on that amount. If you're not sure about which of these 4 categories your organisation fits into, or what you need to do next, you're most welcome to get in touch with us at Moores, and we can give you some tips on the next steps and what the implications are for you.